This is Steve Robbins. Welcome to the Get It Done Guys, quick and dirty tips to work less and do more. When I was at MIT, a friend of mine was finishing his thesis after 7 long years of work. It was going great. The artificial superintelligence he had painstakingly built was just starting to print out the plans for a faster-than-light rocket ship when his hard drive crashed. He did everything he could to try to save it. He even took it to the disk drive specialists who tried to reconstruct it bit by bit using very tiny tweezers. Their efforts were to no avail. He lost everything. 7 years of work lost. And that, my friends, is why we don't have faster-than-light travel today. But we would, if only he had backed up his data. Don't be him. I know what you're thinking. Stever, did you fall into a time warp? No one loses data anymore. That's a thing of the past. Alas, it isn't. We're so used to computers being reliable that we often don't plan for when they fail. Things happen. Hard drives fail, ransomware sneaks into your system and holds your files hostage. Backing up your data simply means making a copy of it somewhere for safekeeping. Make local backups. A local backup is a copy of your data that you keep somewhere nearby. Once upon a time, you could make a DVD or a CD with all your data on it as a backup. And since those are read-only, they made really good backups, because evil ransomware couldn't harm a backup once you made it. If you still have a DVD or a CD drive, you might want to consider using one to make read-only backups of your data, but the computer industry is migrating away from optical drives, so the days of the optical backup are numbered. USB hard drives, however, are very affordable, and they get relentlessly cheaper year after year. So now, to back up my 2 terabyte hard drive in my desktop machine, I just use a 4 terabyte USB drive, which is big enough to keep both my most recent backup and the backup before that. My computer's a Mac, and I use a very simple backup program called SuperDuper from ShirtPocket Software. It copies my hard drive to my backup drive every night, and it makes the backup drive bootable. So if my hard drive gets trashed, I can plug in my backup drive and quickly be up and running just the way that I was. And if I need an old version of a file on any given day, I just copy it directly from the backup drive. SuperDuper's Smart Copy feature skips files that haven't changed, so it doesn't actually waste a lot of time copying stuff that doesn't need to be copied. Because the backup volume has everything that's on your hard drive, encrypt that puppy before you use it as a backup drive. That way, if your backup drive falls into the hands of evildoers, and you know there are evildoers everywhere, they won't be able to get at your data. On the Mac, this means using the Disk Utility program to format the drive as Apple macOS or Apple APFS encrypted. If you're using Windows, you can use Windows 10 BitLocker to encrypt your hard drive. When you encrypt a drive, Windows will also let you save a copy of your BitLocker encryption key. Save it to be safe, but think twice before uploading it to a cloud service. This is not your physical house. In the US, the Fourth Amendment says the government can't search your house without a warrant, so that way you'll know if they come knocking. Most cloud providers, however, will simply turn your files over to the government if the government asks. And even if they have a warrant, the warrant goes to the cloud provider, not you, so you won't know if they're rifling through your files. I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but don't come crying to me if the government steals your top secret design for chocolate-covered pistachio marble macaroons. Save versions with Time Machine or file history, because making a mirror image of a hard drive isn't the perfect answer. It means you can go back to yesterday's version of a file, but if you want to recover last week or last month's version, you're out of luck. And this is where Apple's Time Machine program really shines. It comes with every Mac. You simply get a hard drive that you use as your Time Machine drive, activate it, and as you change files, the changed versions get copied over to your Time Machine drive. The system keeps as many old versions of files as it has room for on the Time Machine drive, and when you want to go back to an older version of a file, you just open Time Machine and boom! You can look back through time and scroll back and forth and grab the version of the file that you want. Time Machine works, though it can be a little bit slow to use if you have a giant disk drive with lots and lots of versions of your files. However, some individual applications support Time Machine. For example, when you're working on a file, you start Time Machine, and you'll be able to view prior versions of that file from right inside the application. So you can start Mail, and then start Time Machine, and you can browse your inbox from yesterday or from last week. It's quite neat, and it's great for recovering messages that you remember came in, but somehow they have vanished because you probably deleted them in a fit of pique. A Time Machine drive saves everything on your hard drive, so it can also be used to recreate your entire hard drive when you buy a new Mac. I actually have Time Machine use 2 external drives, so that I can back up that many more versions of files and keep it for weeks. Microsoft introduced a similar feature called File History. File History lets you back up your data and your media files, but not your whole disk drive. Of course, once upon a time, computers kept old versions of files as a matter of course, but since no one in Silicon Valley seems to learn from past work, those capabilities aren't even a distant memory. I have no doubt that someone will reinvent them in 10 years and they'll be heralded as the next big thing. Yeah, right, innovation, a very bizarre thing. Back up your external drives. If you have any external hard drives, back those up also. I use an external hard drive for editing video. Stuff on that hard drive is irreplaceable. It's also gigantic. So I use SuperDuper to back up to another attached hard drive every night. So here's my total set of USB disk drives. I have a SuperDuper backup for my main hard drive. I have 2 drives for my Time Machine. I have a working media hard drive, and then I have a working media backup hard drive. Yes, this is a lot. But once I've set it up, I almost never have to think about it, and my data is safe and redundant. When I accidentally screw up a file, I can just grab the prior version from the backup, or in the case of Time Machine, I can grab a prior version from days ago or even weeks ago. Make off-site copies. I'm fully protected now against accidentally screwing up my own files, but what if there's a fire or a flood? All of my hard drives would be destroyed, even the backup drives. So if you really want to be safe, keep a copy of your backups off-site. Some people make an extra backup monthly or quarterly or yearly, and they store it in a safe deposit box. I don't do that. I'm a little bit too lazy for that level of backups, so I do actually risk losing all of my media in the event of a physical disaster. Thankfully, however, there is another way. Now that we have cloud storage, it's possible to back things up to the cloud. So stay tuned for part 2 of this episode, where we will explore the ups and downs of using the cloud for backup. If my friend at MIT had a good backup regiment, he would have graduated with flying colors, flying faster than light, in fact. But you won't make the same mistake. You'll have a daily full backup of your main hard drive so you can get up and running quickly if your drive dies. You'll have a Time Machine or file version scheme to recover older versions of files that you're working on. And if you have an external hard drive full of critical data, you'll back that up too. And when you release your faster-than-light rocket ship, you can express your appreciation for my advice with a teeny tiny percentage of the profits. 10% will do nicely. I'm Steve Robbins. Follow Get It Done Guy on Twitter and Facebook. If you're an entrepreneur, self-employed, or otherwise need to control your own time, Get It Done groups help you start finishing what's important and developing the habits you need to be hyper-productive. Learn more at getitdonegroups.com. Work less, do more, and have a great life.